Thank you for being here.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Take care. All right, cool. So let's add the people who want to talk now. Or Asya?
Yeah, if anybody wants to come up now. Yeah, sorry, we really couldn't get to a whole lot. We did the best that we could, but it was a very limited amount of time. So if anybody wants to come up and talk or about anything that Andrew said, or just have a general discussion about any of these things, go for it.
That was
Yeah.
great. Though. He was really easy to talk to and
Yeah.
heartfelt. And I think that hopefully we asked him some questions that Cuomo and certainly Acosta didn't ask.
Right. They're Cuomo and Acosta, like those people are just like, oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And it's like, what are you doing? Like, talk like a normal person. This is our media. It's grotesque. Just have a conversation. Stop.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we had so many more questions, right? This could be an hour. This could be 90 minutes. There was somebody brought up in the chat. They were talking about Herc out there. Our friend Herc was talking about UBI. I had something in my back pocket to talk about that too. But yeah, we couldn't get around to everything. But hopefully, what he did say was meaningful to a lot of people. I got something out of it.
100%. That being said, Radical, go ahead. Welcome.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, so I mentioned in my chat comment that I have a tax plan that I think is not only going to be very popular and much more fair and efficient than what we have now, but has a UBI component built into it. It's just not real obvious. And I'm a supporter of UBI, but I really think that barring something really unusual, it's dead in the water. I think most people are going to are going to oppose it. They're going to see it as a handout, even though that's not what it is. So my question ultimately, I think, is how do I get this in front of either Andrew or somebody else in Forward Party with some influence? I understand the idea of bottom up and having a convention. I'm not sure I'll be able to attend that. So I guess what are the other alternatives to just get an ear, even if it's just for a moment?
That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think. There's a couple of key people in Forward. Is it Will? What's Will's last name?
Conway.
Yeah, Will Conway's a key player. There's some others. I don't have it right at the tip of my tongue, but yeah, I mean, you're just gonna have to reach out to them with the conventional methods. Try to DM, send your messages through that way. Unfortunately, there's no easy path. I mean, it took us some time to get Andrew on the program, so I don't know if any of us have any great slick solutions for you that way.
Right. And I just want to say, like, look, like this has been a long time in the making, and a lot of you were down there and you were requesting, and I was in rooms with Andrew like 30 times where I felt just like you. It was like I had to, really, I recruited and I did a lot of things. So it wasn't like we just, had him on. Like, we had a limited amount of time and like things to do, but we really appreciate your participation and the interest and all of that stuff. And yeah, so it was like I was following him for like 2 years with a lot of footwork, and in those 2 years I never had a time to just sit down with him and kind of talk like until now. So I'm just letting you all know that. So if you didn't get your chance right now, you would eventually have one. Let me go to, I think, is that ETH? You had your hand up?
Not sure if you're speaking to me. I'm -1 over here with the skull, but
Yes.
Let me know.
Yes, you. Yes.
Oh, okay, awesome. Hey, guys, it's Novak's here. I do a lot of spaces hosting and so on in the Twitter sphere, and I work as a social media admin for Lobby 3, which is one of Andrew Yang's Web3 initiatives. And so I wanted to invite you all here to be aware of that and participate in the Lobby 3 community. We're innovating some really interesting stuff that's relevant to kind of solving the problems of where the rubber meets the road on the lobbying end of things and the mechanics of it. And we have been working on this ZK SNARK zero knowledge proof of residency for receiving political campaign donations, in a compliant way. And there's other things that have great utility applied way beyond what we were doing with that DAO. So I'm going to run off with my family and have a little walk, but I just wanted to invite everyone, because I know he wasn't going to probably shill Lobby 3 here, but I just wanted to invite everyone to come and see what we're doing there, innovating and workshopping. It's a great laboratory and a little think tank, and we're doing some cool stuff. So Lobby 3, and we'd love to have everyone come and see what we're doing.
All right. Yeah, anyone who's interested, you can go ahead. It's totally up to them. Thank you. Go ahead. I think Peaceful.
Yes, thank you very much. This was great. Just wanted to ask, will this be rebroadcast or somehow be on WPKN?
So we're probably going to put at least, well, no, we'll probably have time for all of it on WPKN. Well, I want to get clearance from their team first, but I see us just redistributing it on WPKN, and we have a podcast now called Radio Uninvited. The podcast is called Radio Uninvited with Bryce and Ariel and myself. Announcement. Yeah. So yeah, we'll definitely push it out. You'll see the links for it.
Thank you.
You'll see Bryce's beautiful mug, his actual real picture.
Yeah, but and of course this space will also be available too, because they don't delete the spaces. So we'll probably
no, it's not available. They got to go to the podcast.
Oh, okay, that's right. Never mind. Never mind. I've been corrected.
Not available.
The legal team just overrode me, but yeah. But again, again, we had so many more questions for him. So in 30 minutes, you'll have to forgive us if there's some people out there who weren't able to get a chance. I think our original vision is it would be much longer, and we'd have more interviews coming in from the group. But maybe next time. We hope to have him back again.
I just wanted to tell Radical that what you said about like UBI and you having a tax idea, Paul also had something similar in his book. So if you two would like to, I don't know, like follow each other, DM each other, I mean, it's I think you'd get along. So it just came up in my head when you said it. So yeah.
Great, thank you.
All right.
So is there anything, Ariel, that you were looking to talk to Andrew about that you didn't get a chance?
Well, I mean, as a guy who's been kind of following him as long as I have, and really excited about like the idea of UBI, I really wanted to talk to him about maybe how he could get how he I guess I had a chance. Like I thought like the way that he was just ignored by the legacy media was just, I'm not going to mince words here, it was like completely atrocious. But of course the explanation for it is that they're in the pockets of really powerful people. So I think when we have spaces like this and we can get, ideas straight from the horse's mouth as opposed to from third party sources with other sources with big pockets and big agendas, it's healthy for us. So I'm really glad that more stuff like this, the newer generation, we're making our way to this. But what I find so wonderful about these audio spaces is that there may be an agenda, but if it's a really good controlled room with really good questions and really good hosts, you kind of see that things are a lot more authentic than what you see on some of these like legacy media kind of spaces. I wanted to have like an hour conversation about that with him, but of course we are limited on time.
Yeah, plus forward, it's a different concept, right? It was confusing for me. That's why I tried to pick at that a little bit and see if you get some clarification. But it's really kind of a reform movement at the moment. Eventually, it'll rise up to have more firm positions on things. Because, I know during Jim Acosta's interview, it's like, well, what do you think about gun control? What do you think about abortion? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, they're really not there yet because it's a different approach, right? They're trying to get some of these reforms in place first, and then kind of the popular consensus will drive them towards firmer positions. And in fact, it's really more of localities and states right now, like getting people up in power and in place. It's less about the federal level. So people always immediately just like go right to president, and it's like, no. I mean, kind of their federal vision seems a little bit more unclear right now until things firm up. It's really about local, and really your politics are local. So I like that approach, because the best bang for your buck is really going to be like your localities and your state versus the federal. So I just wanted to hear him say, yeah, that's going to firm up and become more defined. But right now they're just trying to get all their ducks in a row.
Right.
And
Where did he say he was going next? Utah? He said he was going to Utah.
yeah, I think it was Utah. Yeah, and then he didn't really talk. So the convention is next. Is it next year? Or is it 24? It said there was. He would mention the forward convention. I was going to pick on that too a little bit because I didn't know a ton. Do you know anything about that, Ariel?
I think like they had one in Houston. I don't know where the
No,
next.
no, no. That wasn't a party convention. That was like a meetup, I think.
Oh,
But
okay.
we're not speaking on behalf of the forward party officially, by the way.
No,
So just putting it out there.
we're just surmising. But yeah, I do think that they're really focused on the local communities and the local areas. I mean, it's a movement, right? It has to move. It has to move, before they get into the presidency, of course.
But that's hard for people to get their mind around because you
Mm-hmm.
like, well, what is your position on this or that? And you're like, well, we really don't have a firm position. Like those positions are going to firm up over time. It's really more about,
Mm-hmm.
well, let's change the system, and then it's really going to be the people who define. My understanding is a forward candidate in California could have very different beliefs from a forward party candidate in
Right.
New York,
Right.
right?
Right.
Changing the system so it doesn't have to do with inflaming people all the time, and it has more to do with like, okay, what do you want, let's see how we get there. I rather be asked what do you want, let's see how we can get there, than hate this person, keep hating this person, and hate them and hate them and hate them. Like what does that do? Nothing. Like, let me see. So like, should we go to some of the speakers?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Herc he had a good
Yeah.
question. He wanted to pick at UBI deeper. So did I, Herc. But maybe you just want to echo kind of what your thoughts were. If you had a chance to talk to Andrew, what are you going to hit him with?
I'm having technical difficulties. Bryce, you just went out. I can read the captions though.
Oh,
I don't know what's up with my new Wi-Fi system that I set up. Ever since then, I've been having problems with Spaces. Yeah, I wanted to confront him a little bit politely about the issues I brought up on the comment.
Can you
Briefly, I
expand?
wrote replacing
Mhm.
UBI with LBI on the platform promptly. They took out UBI off the platform, which was really disheartening. But they can come back strong and say, well, we're going to replace it with LBI, and we're going to actually start at like a low level test subject, like a small town or a medium sized city or something like that. So that was first and foremost what I wanted to hear from them.
I
What do you
wanted to
guys
ask him
think
about
about
that.
that?
Yeah, thanks, Herc. And by the way, I feel like whenever I'm hosting a space or I'm on a space, I always just miss you. So, you're always around, and I feel like you DM me and then I DM it. So I'm sorry that we keep missing each other. Oh, where'd you go?
no, he has Wi-Fi problems,
I
but
think he's
I
going to try
know.
to
he's
I
Yeah,
was
there
just
you go.
saying. I was just saying we always miss each other. I
Yeah,
promise.
yeah. Asia compliments somebody and they disappear. So look out.
No,
There's
I
correlation.
wanted
here.
to
Here
ask.
he is. He's back.
I wanted to ask him about UBI too, but with Herc's point, what he just said, this is actually happening, outside of any federal policy. So in Chicago, for example, Cook County just greenlit a beta test on UBI. So it's small. It's small, but to like I think there's 3 or 4 thousand households that they're going to be rolling out like some accommodation to. You have to apply for it, but it goes to I think almost 4,000 households. So that's the first that I've heard of any beta test, but it's happening in Chicago. So that could be interesting to see if any other regions roll it out.
And they greenlit one for LA County too, and me and Bryce live there. It was
Are you guys going to apply?
No. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll take some extra cash. No, it's very limited. It's
it
only
is.
it's like
Right.
5,000 people or something like that.
The,
So LA County's huge, right? So
there
it's
are
Well,
the
thresholds, like there are little means tests here and there. It's not like a pure UBI. Uh,
hmm but
and
that's
with that,
promising though, for the
it,
movement, for people
well,
that are supportive of UBI. It's promising to
baby
do some
steps,
baby
basically.
steps. hmm
Yeah.
hmm
Let's see.
Go to
Paul.
Paul real quick, and then we'll go to Wit.
Yeah, I just wanted to say Stockton, California actually did a UBI test and all that, and it went very, very well. And the majority of the people that received the UBI, they improved upon their living situation, their education, their job situation. So it's had very, very positive results in every place that it has actually been tested.
Good to hear.
Okay. Let's see. Whittle, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I appreciate you guys hosting the space. I appreciate the information that you guys are putting out. Um, I am what you probably would consider a pessimist. I have over 20 years in the military service. I've been deployed a couple of times. I have a family, I'm a homeowner, college graduate, et cetera, et cetera. Consider myself to be more left leaning, but not necessarily your standard Democrat. Um, and I am like just over the last maybe 6 years or so, just kind of turned myself off from just the political spectrum because it's so terrible all the way around. Um, I love the idea of UBI. I love it.
Uh,
Crime. I know in most urban areas, crime would be like drastically reduced from a program like UBI being implemented because you eliminate a lot of the reason for committing a crime. Like you have money, you can
Right.
survive.
Desperation.
I understand that. My issue is how does this happen nationally now? Because we are dealing like we just Mr. Yang talked about it earlier, where you know we're basically fractured as a country into three sections. There's the far left, the far right, and then kind of everybody in the middle just trying to figure things out. And I mean, listen, you're going to get to people like me, and we're going to hear these ideas and say, well, yeah, let's give it a try. But then you're going to have situations where you're dealing with another section of people who, regardless of the facts, the data, the proof, all of those things, they're not going to like it because even if it helps them, because it's not what their elected representatives on that far right are telling them. And those people are
Whittle,
financially motivated by their own greed and their own pocket and all these other different things. So,
Whit- Whittle,
yeah.
you're so spot on. And you said, "How do we do it?" We are doing it. You showed up. You came here. You listened to what we had to talk about, and then you gave your feedback. And now that we understand that we're on the same page, we can create some kind of network between people who get it. And then when we reach some kind of critical mass of the people who get it, and the people who are sick and tired of all the culture wars and all the attacks and actually want to see some progress, we don't have to go, oh look, these people are attacking us, oh look, these people said something mean about us. They don't help anyone, they don't do anything. But this is the network that we're creating, and I think you just answered your own question by showing up and participating. So thank you.
Oh, yeah. And I'm not. Essentially, I'm not the person that you're gonna have to work hard to convince because I realize, like, I understand that there are problems, and I understand that there are practical solutions to getting these things done, even if they're complex. I understand that I need to put my trust into people who live and breathe this stuff and that are smart and trustworthy into allowing them to come up with a plan, and the rest of us working it out to for the better good of everyone. I'm not the one you have to worry about. The red voter in, you know, the Bible Belt who these programs will actually help, they're the ones that you have to convince because they control a large section of the electorate, regardless of the fact that from a popular standpoint, they're not as many as the centrists and the left leaning voters. But because of where they live, because of the way this country is, the way that our electoral college works and things like that, like these people control a large section of the electorate. And
Right.
how do you convince these people on a national level? Because even with programs that helped them. If it the ACA, they were good with it. As soon as you called it Obamacare, they didn't want it, and it was helping those people. And just because it was named Obamacare, they said no. I don't. I hate it. How
You,
do you convince those voters? Because those
it,
are the ones that get out and vote all the time. They vote everywhere,
it,
local, national,
yeah.
gubernatorial, everything.
It's the messaging because that's it, and I'll let Paul handle some of this because I think he has something to tell you.
But with thank you. I mean, I hear your passion. I hear your concern, and they're great questions.
Go for it, Paul.
All right. Well, first of all, and all that, have you ever put a television in a kid's room and then tried to take it away? What's going to happen is as we're creating this empirical data on UBI and running these test runs, is going to bring more and more data. And you're right, you can shove this data in somebody's face that doesn't want to hear it, and they're never going to accept it. They're going to be against it. But once they start getting that check in the mail and they're starting to utilize that check, and it's helping them grow. It's putting money in the bank for their children's college. It's helping them put tires on the car so they can get back and forth to work. Try taking it away. No, you're not going to be able to take it away. And anyone that tries to take it away is going to now become the enemy. So again, doing these tests that's being done out there where people are receiving it and that data is out there, eventually it will come to pass. It has to. Like the question that I brought up to Andrew about Elon Musk and his robots that are going to be coming out in 3 to 5 years. There's going to be a lot of labor that's replaced. So we have to have something that's in place down the road. Now, this is where radical comes into play, a new taxation system, because under the current taxation system, a UBI cannot be fully federally implemented. The country will go bankrupt. We need a new form of taxation to be able to actually implement a true universal basic income for everybody. And it can be done. It can be done.
Absolutely, and again, that's one of the things because we did. For those in the room who don't know, we did interview also Scott Santens in July on a Twitter space that had quite a few participants, and he's basically kind of the modern godfather of that movement. He was part of an advisor on Andrew's campaign in 2020, some kind of key person at his side when it came to that. I mean, Andrew wrote a book that really talked a lot about UBI. So yeah, it's interesting because my understanding is that that it's really not officially listed as part of the platform right now, but I think it's still like looming in the background. It's something that's interesting, and as Paul mentioned, Paul's book, they wrote the Red Herring Effect. He talks about it and the money that we would need kind of to fund that thing infinitum. It just becomes something like Social Security that everybody would get year after year. So it's important to see, where is that money going to come from, and then how does that amount of money moving around, how does that impact the economic system at large? So these are important questions that people talk about. We should continue to have those conversations. So yeah, I think it's still so. Andrew still has it on his bio. So it's still something I think he's in favor of, but it's something that's a little bit in the background right now. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with these pilots.
Yeah, 100%. And this medium is just such a great medium. I mean, like when I think about all the nuance that we don't get in our legacy media, all the people that don't have a chance to be heard and everything like that, and how this here is changing the game, it gives me a lot of faith. And the wonderful thing is, any one of you, I invite any one of you to come up here and disagree with us vehemently on anything we just said. And as long as you don't do it with profanity and screaming and talking over someone, I'm fine with that, because I want to know. I want to know, what's going on and things like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's good. And what I said, I think, still applies. We'll we might wrap the room here in a few minutes. We'll see how things go. But if anybody has anything that they want to say, if you want to come up, grab a mic, talk about anything we talked about with Andrew, if you got any questions about Forward, again, we're not part of Forward's group officially. We're just independent thinkers, critical thinkers who are looking for better solutions. And what I think makes Andrew interesting is he's offering a lane. Uh, I'm old enough to where I did vote for Ross Perot back in the day. There was a hunger for this other option thing for a long time. And when I see people get really upset now about what Yang's doing is all about him, and that this is going to take away from my party, it's going to steal votes. It's very selfish, and it's really, you're not looking at the big picture or even the small picture. Look at the statistics. The statistics say that most people in this country consider themselves, they're either registered independent or they consider themselves independent. Behind that is the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. So you really have this group. They're the silent majority. That's us. That are people who just, I think most people don't really care, right? They just want good outcomes again.
Wow,
So
Bryce, you really came around to Forward. It's interesting.
yeah. Well, I mean, I just like,
Good tune.
no, I mean, no, whether it's forward or backward or upside down or whatever, we need something. We need something else. I think whoever the front man is, or whoever that comes to, how it comes together, fine. But we need like that chunk of people, that 45% that consider themselves independent. They have feelings, they have ideas, they're smart people.
Let's give Kingdom's been pretty patient, and Wit, again, thank you for your comments. And I wanted to say that I really felt your concern. I wanted to touch on that, but Kingdom, you've been pretty patient. Go ahead.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I've got so many different thoughts going through my mind. Having jumped, the only reason I jumped into the space here is because I saw what the conversation was about, and there's always been something appealing about Andrew Yang, something I've always liked about him, but not somebody I would have voted for. Of course, with not knowing enough. With that being said, just for sake of understanding my position, it's a very interesting one because I'm a Trump supporter, but more than anything, I'm a MAGA supporter. So I'm not about the individual, which is what I've loved about. Although it takes the individual to start something, as Andrew Yang has done. Uh, but so many thoughts come into mind, and so much productive thinking coming to mind. So it's really kind of all scrambled and spread out in my head. Can
Let
you
me
hear?
tell you something, Kingdom. As a
Go ahead.
former Trump supporter myself, I know how you feel. And I know that sounds crazy. And I live in California. I graduated as a millennial, and I graduated into right on the cusp of the recession. And we were all promised that if we get our degrees, we would have these like six-figure fancy jobs waiting for us. And you apply to some of these retail jobs, and even they say that they're not hiring. So the first time I heard Trump, he kept saying like, oh, I'm a businessman, I'm gonna bring the factories back, I'm gonna make like employment get better, I'm gonna be the best. He called himself, I'm gonna be the greatest jobs president that ever lived. But during like the first second year of his presidency, I'm gonna be honest with you, I was still having trouble with the job market, and employers were still being stubborn. They still wanted all these big credentials, even under Trump, when Trump said he would fix that. And then all of a sudden, I heard Andrew Yang on the Joe Rogan podcast, and then he discussed automation and artificial intelligence and how employers, their biggest expense for employers are employees. They have to pay for their health care. They have to pay just in case they need unemployment. They have to pay for this, pay for that. An employer, I mean, I know it sounds counterintuitive. They want to keep those costs down. And they don't care about being job creators as much as they care about their businesses being profitable. And I don't blame them for that. But if somebody loses their work through no fault of their own, I don't feel as though they should just have nothing and be abandoned by society. So when Andrew Yang talked about we all have intrinsic value and not economic value, I switched over. I dropped Trump and I joined him, and I also know somebody else who did that. So that's just my story, just to explain it for you.
Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. And so with that being said, and everything that I've heard, what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing is there's actually a lot in common between, so far, just from what I've heard, between this Ford party uh, that is starting to get going and actually the MAGA party. That's what's interesting, is that there is a lot of common ground. And Trump, the difference between Yang and Trump in terms of the tackling what the vision is, uh, Trump was able to use the Republican Party to get this MAGA movement going. Andrew Yang has a totally different, a much harder hill to climb, because he's not going to be able to use the Democratic Party to be able to get this movement out there. It's a grassroots from the ground up. And
Well, if I could just agree to disagree, after what happened on January 6th, I saw the whole thing just going off the rails. So maybe like it's a good idea to bring back jobs and have more people employed, but I think that the way it was gone about like caused a lot of not such great things among our population. But with that being said, let's get to Shannon because she has her hand up.
Hi guys. I'm so glad I met you all earlier. You took me into a world that I didn't know existed. And that I would like to kind of fight. One of the cool things I want to tell you guys, I was looking through the people who attended the space. I saw people that I know from so many different Twitter I don't know how to put it. Like I've got friends in the Ukraine. I've got friends in Doge. I've got friends, all over the place. And I'm like seeing these people it's a mixture and it's people that I really admire. And I'm seeing them all through here. And I'm like, oh my God, so and so's here. So and so's here. So I wanted to ask, I don't know what the forward party is. I will tell Kingdom that I wanted to give I'm a former Republican child, grew up in the oil fields, and it took me a while to figure out and I'm still trying to figure that out, but I wanted to give Trump a chance. I really did. And just for me, when people were getting fired left and right, not getting replaced properly, I was just sitting there in a panic, like, where is the foundation? Where is the foundation? I know there's, plenty of explanation for that. I saw more chaos, but that is just my opinion. And I think it takes time to see the influence of a president, as the years go by to see how, that kind of pans out. But yeah, please tell me about this forward party because I don't know anything about it.
Go for it, Ariel.
Yeah, so what the forward party is, it's one of Yang's values. Like it's not left, it's not right, it's forward. We don't wanna get stuck in the gutter about the cultural issues. Like I think that's keeping us down. We want to use empirical data and facts. If
Okay, what
yeah.
empirical data and facts? Okay, can you may help me
Yeah,
understand that?
100%. So, like for instance, for an example, like that UBI trial that happened in Stockton, California, it showed that these single mothers that were getting these $500 actually like that gave them a little wiggle room so they can improve their life situation. So they could take off 2 or 3 days from the work they had to search for better work and not be attached to it from paycheck to paycheck. And then they found that since you gave people those options, they chose better. Because if you're tied to either a relationship or an employment just because of the money, it kind of limits the freedom you have to do other things because you may not be able to afford like a day off to go interview for another job or something like that. So they used that data and they saw that this plan actually worked. So who's going to be against people having more options? Who's going to be against people having more freedom of movement? Who's going to be against people just being happier and healthier? I mean, I don't even think that's a Democrat or Republican thing. That's just a human thing. And if you don't want those things, I mean, what kind of a person are you? But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I know I could see that some people, it's like live and let die, you know, but to to see it actually happen, and to know that it would increase like the profitability of society as a large, you know, at as a whole, in so many different ways. I do remember when Yang ran for president, and it was the first time I had ever heard of that idea of, was it $1,000 a month?
Yeah, he
Was that
started.
it? I was like, wow. And the only thing I wanted to see from him was numbers, but that's where the data comes in, right?
Exactly. That's where the data comes in. It's like this is helping people. It's working. Let's do it. And it doesn't matter if you're on the left or the right side. If it's making people happier and healthier, and we see that, and people are reporting that back, it just works. And with that, I think I'll go to Thinky. Go ahead. You have your hand up.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me up. Um, just wanted to raise the issue of antitrust against the duopoly and recommend that everyone watch or listen to a podcast episode of Freakonomics called America's Hidden Duopoly. I just wanted to get it more out there in the zeitgeist that we might need to go to an antitrust lawsuit, and it seems like there's a real possibility of that working. So I just wanted to throw that out there and have that in people's minds.
All right. Thanks for your contribution. Let's see. And I guess Faye, you're next.
Hi, thanks for recognizing me to speak. I'm interested. I love Freakonomics, and if anybody's interested in that first UBI proposal, there were one or two really good interviews with Andrew Yang when he was running for the presidency, and so on Freakonomics. So that's a really cool reference that you brought up. But I actually came in to talk about the Forward Party because I was able to attend that Forward Party launch party in Houston, Texas, where I just recently moved. And so I was really excited to learn more about it directly from the three main people who who has joined together to basically bring Forward Party into the future. And they were explaining to me basically that they want a shift in paradigm. Like even I had misunderstood it because I thought that eventually we would have like a normal platform like other parties. But this party is actually not trying to create like a specific set of policies that you must agree to before you can join the call yourself Forward Party. We actually just want to embrace all humans and as the maximum number of people who can work together, which we think that's better for organizing, for the power of the people, rather than dividing people into a left group and then a right group, and then you have 40% of our country currently is politically homeless and has declared themselves independent, which means that as an independent, it's like if you went to court and you don't have a lawyer, that's what it's like when you go into politics and you've got no party.
Right.
There's nobody to help you with all of those legal procedures, and
For
you
sure.
will, have a very big disadvantage.
You're right.
So Forward Party, is there to basically help people run for office and participate in politics, but not tell you what to believe or think.
It's
Yes.
giving the voiceless a voice. And I think that's why we call our program Uninvited, because you feel uninvited when you don't have any representation. You don't have anybody on your team. Just think about it. It's like, think about like the teams are only coming from New Jersey and Alabama. Well, I don't live in New Jersey and Alabama. Well, we don't care. It's either New Jersey or Alabama, or we don't care about you. And it's like, what kind of dumb is that? And then it's like, no, but this is our system. It's like are you really pro Alabama or really pro New Jersey? I'm pro none of them. Oh well, I guess you can't participate. Bye. Give me a break. Let's see who was next. I think it's Herc Allen and then Erickson.
A couple months back, I was like Shannon, asking people on Spaces what the Forward Party was about, and Ariel was kind enough to tell me some details. And I then went and looked at their platform, and they had little more than a dozen main priorities on it. And I was really kind of shocked that there wasn't more to it. So I opened up a space and someone came in and explained it that it's more of a voting coalition than a real fully formed party that has a fully defined platform. So you'll be seeing different types of forward party candidates, basically, whether they kind of lean libertarian or a liberal or conservative going forward. So they merged with a couple conservative movements, and the result of that was they stripped down the platform to just a few election reform points. So we really don't know what the look of the Forward Party is going to be, whether they're going to have uh, a presidential candidate even by 2024. Probably not, because you probably need a couple years to prepare. So they're looking at probably 2028. And really, the presidential candidate is usually the way people kind of view the party, the way it's going. So it'll be interesting to see what Andrew Yang has to say about that, and among other things, what he wants to put back into the platform, and what he's doing to get people interested in keeping their party status but still being a forward party member, and how the states are going to react to that, because some don't allow fusion.
Right.
So, guys, I recommend you check out January Walker. I think she's going to be one of those mavericks that the Ford Party is backing. She champions blockchain voting, which is a real game changer, maybe, because then people will be able to have their ID in like a crypto kind of wallet, and then be able to vote by phone instead of going online and waiting in line physically. So, thanks for letting me explain that.
Right. It is a mental shift that we're not starting from presidential, but we're starting from the ground up. But I think that's the way it should have been all along, because the person in DC who's the president doesn't control most of my life. It's mostly the people in my local community. So I think this ground up approach is great. I think it was Allen and then Erickson after him.
Yeah, thank you for having me up. Outstanding interview. Kudos to all three of you for how you conducted the interview and the questions that you asked. And also, Andrew Yang was very personable, very engaging, and I thought he did very well. Uh, I didn't really disagree with anything that he said, but I think Bryce or Ariel asked someone to come up and just offer an opposing view for devil advocate purposes for the discussion. And when I was listening to Andrew Yang, I tried to take it out of myself as someone who is an avid political follower, and try to listen as just the average person who may somewhat engage in politics occasionally or may not even engage in it at all until the presidential election. And what came to mind is it, it's I think it's a great strategy to present a centrist view of let's be something different than the norm. But what I don't hear, and this is kind of what Herc was talking about, and somewhat what Whittle was talking about, is a clear and concise policy message. And I'm glad Paul asked that question about the robots, because I think Paul was hinting at that, in that if I'm the single mother with two little girls, if I'm the guy working in the factory, if I'm the person that lost their job to COVID, or if I'm a person who is sick and ill and fighting medical bills, what is Andrew Yang and the Forward Party offering my life to give me hope for a better future outside of the message, I'm not the Republicans, I'm not the Democrats? And as I was listening, that's what I felt, that the average person would need to hear? What are you offering me from a clear and concise, simple policy perspective, uh, 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 to get me to want to be a part of your movement and be a part of your party? Because UBI is great, but Bryce has done an amazing job, and Paul hinted at it. It's going to be very difficult to really accomplish, because when you just look at Biden's student loan forgiveness program that he did, several Republican states challenged it in court, and it may not even happen, right? So it's a multitude of detail oriented things that obviously you guys did an amazing job in the time you had. But moving forward with Andrew Yang, I would want to hear the building blocks of how he plans on getting certain initiatives done
Mhm.
to help
Yep.
people's
Yeah,
lives.
Alan, that was a great thought and a great question. I mean, this thing has been posed to him over and over again. We all want those specifics, and I think the reason that we're still landing on that question is because they're just not there yet. And I think that that's the answer that none of us, myself included, want to hear.
Right.
But that being said, it doesn't mean that something will conceptualize, that they will put, have some specifics and some building blocks together. That they're going to need it. They're going to need it.
And I can build on that further. Think about it. You're thinking about it. That's why I used to think about it, Elon. But think about it more as it's a reform movement, and then whatever the platform specifics are going to be is going to be dictated by the people, right? We don't know exactly what the people want. I don't want to say it's just a kind of a mob rule. 51% of the country wants this, so this is what we believe. Think about it as a locality, and me being a forward person in California, I'm going to have very specific. The people in California have very specific needs for the people of California, right? And the people of Delaware have theirs, or New York, or what have you. So think of this forward classification. It is being very flexible. That you're really kind of going to represent what the community, the county, the state, what they really want, what they really need. So it's going to be try to get like we do with the independent thing, right? It's you don't feel like you're right or left. You're kind of this thing in the middle. Okay, well, we have some heterodox beliefs, right? So I think in each region, the forward candidate, whoever rises up, it's going to be from the ground up. So it's going to be more localities and state level stuff. That will come to a vision, but you can't just say, well, I am pro 2A, right? Because that may not fit somebody in California or New York. The Ford candidate might not
it
lean into that.
it's going to bring a level of nuance to our politics that is sorely missing. I just want to let the room know we are kind of having to wrap up, so we're going to have to get to the rest of the hands, and no more speakers. But me and my co-host right here, we do our own rooms. So anytime any of you are invited to either mine or Aussie or Bryce, if you didn't get a chance to say what you wanted to say today, you can always follow us, and when you see us open up a room, so keep that in mind. With that, I'll go to Erickson. Go ahead, Erickson.
Yeah, this is a global state of emergency message. Andrew Young is not going to save you. Trump is not going to save you. Biden is not going to save you. Only you and I are going to save this nation and the world. Now, in 2020, I'm going to show you just how much trouble we are actually in. In 2020, all the corrupt governments of the world got together and they locked down the entire planet, put you under house arrest.
I'm sorry. Like, I agree with your message that none of these candidates are going to save us. We're going to have to do it ourselves, and that's why we're all here. We like the messages, but we do it all together. But I'm like your opinions on what happened like 1 or 2 years ago. Unfortunately, everybody has their ideas on that, and if we were just going by that, we would be here all day. But thank you for that message of no one's going to save us. But this isn't a place where people can come on their soapbox and talk about any kind of pet theories they have. But thanks for participating. Sorry about that. Okay, with that being said, I think Faye is here too. All right, thank you.
Hi, I feel very lucky to get a chance to reply also about. I'm interested in how the Forward Party will do things for the average person. This was the question that Whittle asked, and he was listening for it and never feels like he's satisfied with the answer because there is no real answer. It feels like, but that's what happens when you have a shift in paradigm, and we still are trying to ask the questions that we're used to getting from our politicians. So I lived in rural East Texas just so, and in my town on Martin Luther King's Day, every year they have a big political parade, really, even though it's in honor of Martin Luther King Day. But who comes out, right? It's all the politicians who want to woo the black people in town, of course, and the other people as well. But I mean, Martin Luther King, I think, appeals specifically to a group that votes very, very frequently, like people are saying. There's definitely certain groups, elderly, right, church-going people. Okay, so they're wooing these people by doing what? They throw candy in the streets. They have a parade. They show themselves off. They tell you what they're going to do for you. And aren't we all sick of that? Do I really need them to throw candy at me? I participated in one of these for the year that Andrew Yang was running for president, and I'm like, I'm not trying to throw candy at you.
Right.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
offer you $1,000 a month. You know.
100%. Hey, 100. Okay. So the gist of what you're talking about, and I think we can wrap up after this, is that it's kind of like what is it? It's kind of like, instead of a politician getting up there and making a speech, we don't want to be spoke at. I think a lot of times our mainstream media and our politicians are speaking at us. They're not speaking to us. They're not asking us, what do you actually want? I never get asked what I want. I get told what I want. I don't want you to tell me what I want. I want you to ask me what I want, and then I can see what we can do about it. So I think what's so grotesque in American politics, and it kind of makes me want to puke, is we're always being spoke at to. We're always treated, we're always infantilized that this is what you have to know, this is what you have to think, this is I'm speaking at you, I'm not asking you what you think. And I think we've hit a point where I didn't want to be rude to that speaker who came up and wanted to give out like his little pet theories, but I think at that point it's like, I don't want anyone to tell me their pet theories either. I want us to have a dialogue. When somebody, either a host or a speaker, comes up with the intention of like, I have an announcement to make, and you all have to listen to this announcement because I think that this is right. That's not a dialogue. That's a monologue. So I don't like it, and I'm trying to control itself when people come up with their pet theories, whether they're a host or whether they're a speaker, and all that's on their mind is proselytizing people to the way they think. Don't proselytize anyone. Have a conversation with people.
Amen.
That's it.
Amen. Amen. Hey, and we're gonna close out the room here in a couple minutes. I just want to say, hey, please follow Asia, Ariel, myself. We do a radio show on WPKN in Bridgeport, 89.5 FM. That's called Radio Uninvited, and now we also have a podcast that correlates with that. So we do talk. We're trying to get good guests over time. We've done pretty good up to this point. We're going to continue to bring them. It's not just about politics. We talk about pop culture and a lot of other things, but politics is something that's kind of near and dear to us. And so, as being uninvited, we're kind of that middle. People just critically thinking, looking for solutions, because we think that's most people are reasonable. Talk to your neighbors, people in your town, your coworkers. Most people are reasonable and just want a nice life for themselves, the best that they can get. Be reasonable about it. So we're kind of that reasonable class of folks that doesn't feel like the representative, because all the airtime goes to people who can scream the loudest, pound their chest the hardest, and that type of thing. So with
Right.
that, hey, we want to thank everybody for coming out today. It was a good
Thank you.
interview with Andrew. Yep,
Yeah.
and we'll try to bring more. Go ahead, Asia.
Sorry, I'm jumping on you. Sorry. No, I want to thank everyone so much for being here. Kay, Carl, Stephen, Herc, Faye. I mean, everybody here. Will, Kiki, Peaceful, and just everybody here for hanging out. Paul, obviously, and Paul. I'm so glad that you had your chance to talk to Andrew about the chapter in your book called Andrew Yang. So that was really cool. So we'll be around. Maybe we'll do a space later, and we'll be dropping the podcast soon. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you all for showing up. All right.
Bye bye.